Hello, everybody. I am Leah King. I am Executive Director for Build Carolina, the organization that runs SC Codes. And welcome to Mentor Monday. We are going to be here every Monday live with one of our professional programmer mentors, folks who are working in this field in South Carolina, who will be here to answer your questions live. So, very happy to have you with us tonight. And we are going to have a very special guest with us tonight, Alex Martin. I will have him introduce himself here in just a moment, but let's welcome Alex.
Hey, Leah. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for being here. This is awesome.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So, will you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Alex Martin. I am the acting technical lead for SC Codes. That's a part time gig for me. Full time, I'm a software engineer. I've been doing that professionally for about 5 or 6 years now. And I actually went through a boot camp program. So, I don't have a computer science degree, I don't have a computer science background. This is just a fun hobby that I turned into my career. And I live in Greenville,
Awesome.
South Carolina as well.
Yeah. Well, we some of our folks may have met you before through a previous video, or if they've been chatting with our mentors on the platform. I know you've been answering a lot of questions over there, so you might already be a familiar face to some of our people.
Sure, yeah, I hope so. I try to make an impression there.
Um, so I was just going to start tonight. I know we're kind of waiting on a couple of folks to join us with just kind of a quick overview of SC Codes and sort of what it is and where we are and kind of what's going on with SC Codes right now, if that's cool. But
Sure.
if you guys have questions, please, we're really here tonight to answer questions. So if you guys, do have any questions for us, please jump in with those. Just real quickly though on SC Codes. So SC Codes primarily is this platform that exists, sccodes.org. There are several online courses that are live, that are there and available for you or anyone that you know who's interested in learning to code to go ahead and jump on and try out some code. So we've got a few courses on there that are a bit shorter that may take you an hour, 2 hours to kind of get through and just sort of see what it's like to code. And then we've got a couple courses that are a bit longer for those who figure out, hey, I really think this is something I enjoy. We typically also have great site partnerships with libraries and organizations across the state where we actually bring together our mentors, like you, Alex, with our learners at a library or a computer lab to go over kind of what they're learning, answer questions live. Of course, there's so much good content out there about learning to code. But the real, special thing I think about SC Codes is that we're able to bring together real mentors with people who are learning, and that these are people who are doing this work right here in South Carolina, which is pretty cool. So even though we're currently with the coronavirus and sort of being on lockdown here in South Carolina and across the world, we're not doing those site meetings, in person. We are here just like those meetings are in person. We are here live to kind of answer those questions and talk to our learners and our friends about SC Code. So that's kind of our intention for this time together. Alex last week was really helping us announce that we have a new class on the platform, Java Concepts, which is very exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Had a bunch of people have jumped in and started learning on that platform, on that class this week. So Alex, do you mind, just for those who maybe didn't get a chance to join us last week, talking a little bit about what makes that course special and different?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So Java Concepts, which is our newest course, we're really excited about it. It's been in development for quite a while, is a very, very rudimentary introduction to the Java programming language. And the reason this is really exciting for us is that Java tends to be a language people move to later on, or that they encounter first in college. It's a really expansive language. There's a lot you can do with it. You can build for laptops, you can build for mobile devices like your cell phone or your iPad, and you can build for big servers and websites, way off in a data center somewhere, all with one language. But generally, because of that, you don't encounter it when you're getting started. You start with smaller languages. And that makes people kind of afraid, right? So our goal is to take the fear out of Java. And so this introductory lesson is for people who have no programming experience at all. You can jump right in and work with Java live in your browser. And that's another one of the big things we're excited about with Java Concepts, is you don't have to install anything on your computer. You don't have to go through any complicated tutorials. You can run real Java code right from the website. And so that lets you do it on any computer, on any machine, and makes it really easy to get started. And we're super, super excited. I'm excited to see so many students getting in and getting exposure to this language that generally you just don't see newbies getting into. So that's been a lot of fun. Leah, I can't hear you right now.
Oh,
there we go.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That was my bad. I just asked a very long-winded question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a summary?
No.
I hate to make you repeat it.
It is all good. I was just saying that there are, a lot of people out there who know that programming is important, and they know it's a skill that they, may want to have in their kind of tool belt, but they don't have a ton of experience in it. Okay. So for those people, what's kind of the best first step to take as they're exploring kind of learning to code?
Sure. So that's somewhere that SC Codes really shines. Our goal is to bring people in who maybe want programming as a tool in their tool belt. I think that's a great example. It doesn't have to be your whole backpack. You don't have to set your whole career on it. And I think a lot of people get online to learn what programming is and become immediately intimidated by these really complicated tutorials. One of the things we've offered with our concepts courses is really basic, very introductory lessons. So having no programming experience, our goal is for you to be able to sit down and help build a real application. It's not going to be something huge, it's nothing intimidating, but you get to walk away knowing kind of how the programming cycle works, and you get to walk away knowing a little bit of new code. And that could help if you're in any sort of administrative work with automating some of the tasks you do day to day. That could help if you're in a design field, speeding things up and helping duplicate designs more quickly. That could help if you do want to change careers, because this could be a great springboard for you to look at a larger program later on. And so, in terms of getting started, I think hitting our concepts course is a good place to start if you just have no experience at all. And even just going through the learner's guide on SC Codes and learning a little bit about how our system is set up might help familiarize you and get you more comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to mention that kind of getting started guide that we have. It's really kind of a good place to just explain how to even use the platform for people who've not had a ton of experience with that. So that is the very best place to start, I think. And then, there are some recommendations within the Getting Started guide about kind of which courses to try next based on what you're interested in. Mm-hmm. But that's a great point, really starting with those concepts courses, because they're a bit shorter and very easy to digest. You guys, we are still here kind of open and ready for any questions you have. So just a quick reminder that if you've got anything, we're happy to chat with you and help figure out whatever it is that you are interested in learning more about SC Codes. Sure. As we wait for any other questions to come in, one of the things that I wanted to have us kind of clarify a little bit about SE codes was we've got a lot of different ways that students who are learning can connect with us, the SE Codes team, and also the SE Codes network of mentors across the state. We've got the ability for students to ask questions as they are inside the platform. I think it's really on every step, right, Alex?
It is. Yeah, we so the service we use to host our code and host our lessons provides an option to turn those discussions off. We intentionally keep those open for you. We want our learners, we want our students to feel free to discuss. You'll see sometimes students of different levels will even answer each other's questions. But it's important to remember, too, those are going to real people. If I'm not answering those, it's Leah or maybe it's Kim. Members of our team are answering those. And we will absolutely follow up with you if there's a problem or a question we can dig more into. So if you get stuck on something or you're having trouble, that's the best place to go, is to post your answers right there on SC Codes.
Yeah, and that's especially helpful if it's a question that's about whatever the problem is that you're working on within that particular step.
Sure.
That communication is not going to be instantaneous as far as your answer. While we do have mentors who are definitely staying on top of those questions, oftentimes that will be something that will be emailed back once a mentor sees the question and is able to address it. Sometimes we need a little more information to figure out the answer to that question. And you're right, sometimes the answers are already kind of there in the conversation, in that discussion. But we also do have a platform for students who want to have more of that kind of instantaneous interaction with our mentors, and that is Slack. Slack is a third-party communication tool outside of our platform, but within SC Codes, after you register for a course, you should see that invitation to join Slack. That is a great place where you can actually connect directly with us, the leadership team, with our mentors, also with other students. And within Slack, there are ways to kind of parse out, what information you're looking for. There's a room called Just Ask a Mentor if you're not sure exactly what it is that you need help with, but you need help from a mentor. But there are also location-specific channels. They call them channels in Slack. And there are course-specific channels in Slack. So let's say you're taking a front-end basics course, and you've got a question and you're working through something on the platform and you really, want to chat with a mentor about that more instantaneously, then you can hop over to Slack and join that front-end basics channel and ask a question there. And you'll be able to connect with mentors, with other students there as well.
Yep. And one great thing about our mentor pool that's accessible from Slack or the people who are answering questions on SC Codes is that we've got a really, really broad range of actual real software engineers answering these questions and working with their students. And so this isn't something where you're going to have, TAs or you're going to have a problem with other students who don't necessarily know the answer. There's going to be a mentor there who can help you because we've intentionally tried to work with people from a really broad range of backgrounds. And so, Slack can be a little intimidating since it's real time. It's more like a chat client. But definitely don't be afraid to kind of dip your toe in there and try to meet some people. You may network for a job, or you may just get your question answered by 2 or 3 different mentors. But that's only going to help you out in the end.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Alex. Thank you. I don't see that we have any questions yet in the chat over here in YouTube, but there are, some questions that have come up a few times kind of within the SC Codes community that we can totally address here. Sure. Often the next step after people kind of ask, where do I start, is once I complete a course, what do I do next? At this point, when you complete a course on the SC Codes platform, you do receive a little certificate to kind of show that you've completed that course and the date, and you can certainly share that among your network on LinkedIn or on any of the other platforms that you currently use. But Alex, can you kind of talk a little bit about, based on what course a student may have completed, how should they proceed after that?
Sure. So you've got two options depending on what kind of depth of knowledge you're looking for, right? We've tried to optimize for kind of the two levels of knowledge. There's breadth, which is you want to learn a lot about a little bit, or a lot about a lot of different things. Or there's depth, where you want to learn a lot about one thing. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in depth and you're interested in learning more about the topic that you just covered, I'd recommend looking at the basics courses next. So that's our progression. Is our concepts courses are very introductory. Our basics courses are going to be a lot longer, and they're going to be a lot more in depth. So you're going to build more projects. You're going to do more on your own. You might even set some things up on your own computer instead of just being on SC codes. But all of that is going to result in you understanding that topic a lot better. So if you're really interested in a deep dive, the basics are a good place to go. The other option is to take a look at another concepts course. If you're just trying to kind of explore and see what you're most interested in, programming languages are like any other foreign language. And if you learn to say hello in Spanish, then it's easier to learn to say hello in French and German and Chinese and any other language. And so once you've finished one concepts course, the remaining courses are going to be easier to go through, and it's going to help you make connections between those different concepts. And so that's kind of the two paths that we offer right now. The good thing is we don't lock you in. You don't have to wait to try a basics course if you have some programming experience. And you definitely don't have to finish a concepts course if you're really bored or you find you don't like it. That's an important data point, and that's okay. The nice thing is all of that content is available to you. You can enroll and start right away.
Great point. We do have, kind of in a typical time, we would have courses that run kind of as a cohort model in person at some of our local library locations. Sometimes that can be nice for students who really, enjoy kind of going through that cohort style class within a certain, set time period with specific deadlines. All of our courses are designed to be self-paced, but, you and I have worked with learners for a long time, and we know that for some people, it's just a learning style. They just learn better if they have kind of that constant mentorship, that constant deadline. That is something that, of course, right now, we're not running live in-person courses, but with these tools that we've built into the platform, we really can kind of have that same accountability online. So I do want to encourage learners too, that if you're like me and you're thinking, hey, I really need kind of a group of people to keep me accountable for completing this course, I would highly suggest just saying that, being honest about that within the platform, jumping over to Slack and kind of asking for a little bit of accountability, and we will be more than happy to help with that through our mentors and through other students. There may be other students who really want to, jump in and kind of say, hey, I'm going to take the next 6 weeks and finish this front-end basics course, and can we do that together? So I think that would be kind of cool to see online as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Slack is a great platform for that. It's easy to just hop in the general channel or hop in the channel for your area of the state, your town or your county, and just introduce yourself. These are relationships that you'll build not only with other students, but also with mentors who are in your area and who could help you find a job, or once we're kind of beyond some of our social distancing right now, could meet up with you and help you with some of that in-person accountability. So absolutely. Those social connections are still there.
And speaking of that, one thing that when Kim and I especially are kind of around the state talking to folks who are interested in learning a little bit more about SC codes, it is a constant question that we get around, are employers looking for a computer science degree? And if they're open to folks who maybe have a less traditional learning path, what do they need to see as far as, my skill, my ability as a programmer to feel confident hiring me? So I know a lot of what we've talked about with SE Codes is still kind of in that beginning phase of learning. But for those students who really begin to see that this is something that they love, that they enjoy, that they want to pursue professionally, can you speak a little bit to, the breadth of what employers are looking for when it comes to programming, and how, to even kind of understand the, the broad view of those employers in South Carolina and what it is that they're looking for from people who have this skill?
Yeah, sure. And that's a really concerning thing, right? When you're spending your time learning something, you want to get a benefit from that. So I'll kind of approach this from two angles, because in general, when I've worked with students, you see two different kinds of people who come to this level of programming and are interested in learning. The first is the career changer, right? Somebody who's looking for either their first job or maybe a new job, maybe a whole new career. In those cases, you're looking at a role where you're going to be a programmer. That's your job. That's what you do all day. The thing employers look for those kind of roles is a portfolio. Plain and simple. It's projects that you've built. It's you demonstrating that you can build and you can create and you can fix bugs. And the best way to do that's with a portfolio. We talk a little bit about that in some of our courses using GitHub, which is a really popular tool for sharing your code online. But it could be as simple as just having a personal website that you have put up with some of your new skills, and maybe have some pictures, maybe have some links to other things that you've worked on or people you've worked with. And that can be really helpful because you can just give an employer your URL. You put your website right on a business card and say, hey, here's what I've built, take a look at it. And that'll get you in a lot of doors. A computer science degree is helpful for certain types of work. Certainly if you're interested in that, it can't hurt to study some programming and then go to comp sci, or go through comp sci and then learn a little programming, because those two things aren't necessarily tied together. But the example that I like to use with people is that, right now especially, we think a lot about healthcare workers and hospitals. Right. Everybody in the hospital is valuable. We need everybody from people in registration all the way up to research doctors who never deal with patients, who are in a lab all day. And computer science and programming is kind of the same way. You don't have to be a PhD level research scientist to be valuable in the hospital. You don't have to be a PhD level computer scientist to be valuable working on a website or building software. And so you shouldn't feel intimidated by that fear of, I don't have the degree or I don't have the background. I can count on one hand the number of people that I've worked with in full-time software engineering roles who have a traditional background. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's definitely not the norm or not a common need. So let's cut from that to the other side of things, right? A lot of people aren't necessarily looking for a new job. They're just interested in programming, and they want to know, hey, what is this? What can it do for me? What's it all about? For folks like that, the thing I push for is augment your current role. And what I mean by that is, if you're an administrative assistant and you do a lot of data entry, programming could save you a ton of time. Programming could save your boss a ton of time. Programming could help a lot of your clients or help a lot of your customers. And it's just as simple as learning the basics of how to work a spreadsheet or how to fix the company webpage. So those little skills that you can add to your tool belt, right? To go back to what Leah said earlier, can be really, really valuable in the office, even if you're not changing jobs, even if you don't want to be a programmer. In the same way that being able to use word processing tools is really helpful for most jobs now, programming is really helpful for almost any role that you're going to be in. And so it's okay to learn a little bit and use that to kind of augment the stuff you're working on, because that's where you're going to see a real benefit, and that's where you're going to see promotions and you're going to see new opportunities at work, because you can do these cool things that nobody else in the office can.
Such a great point. Thanks, Alex.
Sure.
We've got a few more minutes. If anyone does have a question for us, please feel free to throw that into the chat box. In the absence of other questions, I've got a couple more for you.
Sure.
That we've just gotten, over the last few months working on SE Codes. One is, I didn't really know there was so much programming happening in South Carolina, of all places. Can you talk a little bit about, of course, from your own experience, but also the network of mentors and peers that you have who live and or work here about the kinds of jobs that are available in our state for folks who have the skill.
Yeah, absolutely. So South Carolina has two really cool things going for it. One is we have a lot of older companies. We have a lot of big companies either here or in places like Charlotte and Atlanta, really close by. Things like banks, things like healthcare, insurance companies. A lot of those are based in our area. Those old companies have old software. And just like an old car, it needs constant maintenance. And so programmers are the people that get to come in and do that maintenance. So that's one type of job. We refer to that as an enterprise level role, these large old companies that need development. The other thing South Carolina has going for it is lots of startups. So you hear about that a lot out on the West Coast, right? Your San Francisco startups. We've got Charleston startups. We've got Greenville startups. We've got Columbia startups. We've got startups in, down by Augusta and up in Cherokee. Like, they're not limited to the cities, but we have lots of startups in this state. And startups need people who can help them build products, help them build websites, help them build apps for your phone, help them work on the product they have. And so those two things coming together means there are a ton of jobs, even in places that you wouldn't really expect them. That's been a constant surprise for me in going to this as a career. This was a hobby for so long that I didn't really realize that until I started looking at jobs and applying. And I realized, wow, there's hundreds of companies just in this one area of Greenville, for example, that are hiring and are actively looking to build these products I didn't even know existed. And you're going to find the same thing in your own community if you look around. And so that has been encouraging and surprising for South Carolina to see that range of things available.
And then we also have a lot of folks who live here but work remotely.
That's true. For
companies that might be outside of South Carolina. I think now there's no better time than now to see that at work. Mm-hmm. You've worked for some remote companies, right, Alex?
I have. Yeah, the last two companies I worked for full-time have been remote. One from San Francisco and one from Ohio. And I never left Greenville for those.
So crazy. So one of the things that I think is kind of cool to point out with both of those kind of conversations we just had with remote work and also with just the breadth of the types of work that are available throughout the state, all the different kinds of businesses, employers that hire programmers. I think one of the really important points there is that, the network of programmers that you have is super important to either getting a job. Sorry, the 3-year-old, to getting a job or to kind of staying connected with other people who understand kind of your work, other people who maybe can help you answer your own coding questions when you get stuck if you're kind of working remotely. In both cases, it does seem like kind of that network is super important to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, networking is a huge part. And if you're into tech, there's technical networking, which is connecting computers across long distances, but there's that in-person networking, and that's really what we're referring to and what's so important. Networking has gotten me most of my jobs. It's gotten me most of my side gigs. It's helped me learn. It's giving me people who I can fall back on when I need help or I have questions. And being remote and being comfortable doing that remotely is a huge skill. And the best way to do that today is over the internet. I'm going to point out one kind of cool thing about remote work that just came up is, just want to point out Leah's family is able to be there with her, and she's able to be there with them because she's able to work remotely. And that's, right now a lot of people are experiencing that for the first time, but this is a skill. Programming and development is a skill that gives you access to that kind of family time and that kind of freedom that you may not have in other jobs and you may not have in other roles. And so we can kind of laugh about all the memes online about the kids breaking in the door of the office, but the cool thing is you're close to your family all day. I'm close to my wife all day. Leah's close to her family all day. And that's a huge boon to learning these skills and focusing on some of these remote opportunities as well.
Such a good point. Whether or not that is a benefit or not, it's a personal decision, but
it can be good to have an office to go to when you want to get away from the family as well. But
right.
The opportunity is there.
Good to have that opportunity. Well, we'll wrap this up in just a couple of minutes. If you're here and watching and have any questions for me, for Alex, anything about SE codes or coding in general, go ahead and shoot those over to the little chat box and we'll be happy to answer them. If not, we'll be back next week to do this again, and we hope we will see many of you in SE codes in the platform and also in our Slack channel. Last kind of point that I kind of wanted to mention is simply that SE codes is still kind of growing. It's still changing. We're constantly looking for feedback from learners, from employers. We really kind of are a very kind of open community. So I do encourage anyone who is listening, who is watching, who has any feedback for us or who wants to chat, just to please reach out, because that's really the reason why we are here doing this work. Is we want to make this platform a place that is actually very helpful for people who live and work in South Carolina and are interested in coding. So that is really all that I had. Is there anything else, Alex, that we didn't talk about that you want to mention tonight?
I can't think of anything we didn't talk about, but I do want to just reiterate and encourage people. If you've got questions or you're curious or you're interested, please join Slack. Please put your questions in on SC Codes. That's how we get feedback. That's how we can improve, and that's how we can make it better for you. And so this is definitely a team effort for everybody in South Carolina, including us, which is we need that feedback so we can make it better, so you can tell us what we missed this time. And so please don't be embarrassed or worried to send some of that feedback our way so that we can improve things. We really appreciate anybody who puts time into that for us. Yeah,
we're really grateful for all of our mentors, for all of our supporters and friends, and most especially for all of our learners. You guys inspire us because you are out there learning new things, which is awesome, and that's really the hard work of this. So keep at it, keep doing it. You may be a person who started something a while back and has not picked it back up, and now might be a great time to do that. So we do want to encourage you. Thank you, Alex, for spending some time with us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Leah. I'm always happy to help out with SC Codes.
You are so awesome, and we will be back weekly on Mondays with mentors for more Q&A, and we look forward to seeing you all. Have a great Monday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.